Let's talk about the tax cuts.
Yeah.
Before you and I talk about it, let's let Obama.
I ran for president because I believed the policies of the previous decade had left our economy weaker and our middle class struggling. We came into office with a different view about how our economy should work. Instead of tax cuts for millionaires, we believe in cutting taxes for middle class families and small business owners. We've done that. The policies that the Republicans are offering right now are the exact policies that got us into this mess. A perfect example is the debate we're having on taxes right now. And what I've got is the Republicans holding middle-class tax relief hostage because they're insisting we've got to give tax relief to millionaires and billionaires.
Are the Republicans right? Do we benefit society more by giving more money to rich people? I came up with kind of an analogy in my mind. I was thinking about the easiest way to think about what the right thing to do is always to take it from its massive scope down to the smallest scope that you possibly can within reason.
Personalize it.
Yeah, so I thought, let's say the entire country and our economy is all reduced to a small island, and there's only 100 people living on it. And normally about 5 of those 100 people are unemployed. For whatever reason, they can't
5%.
work, they don't work. That's a normal unemployment rate. And let's say, to keep it easy, there's only a couple industries on this island. There's a food industry, a food store, and there's a clothing store. And they're both owned by the same guy. One guy. And he lives in a great big mansion on his side of the island.
Mr. Fancy Pants.
With lots of big walls around.
There's a monocle
to keep
and a mustache.
And everyone else lives in huts on the other side of the island. But he gets all the revenue from his stores, and he pays his workers. And through the years, he's managed to change the tax code and whatnot such that he's getting more and more of the profit and they're getting less and less, such that these people who live on the island, who by living on the island, they support those industries,
right?
Just the way all of us buy things in this economy. Well, they can no longer afford to buy new clothes very often. They have to spend their money mostly on food. So the food industry is kind of doing okay.
Doing pretty good. It's important.
People need
Indubitably,
to eat. And it's not absolutely required that you always have new clothes.
You can always eat, but you can always go naked.
It's great if your clothes aren't ripped and dirty, but they can be, and you'll be all right.
It is an island.
So they stop buying so many clothes through the years, and so the clothing store starts to kind of suffer in its business. What is the guy who owns this one guy who owns it all? He says, well, the people aren't buying so many clothes.
Lay somebody off.
He lays off some people, and that explains suddenly we've got 10 unemployed people on the island.
Unemployed people.
About
one rich
about
guy.
the 10% we have in this country now.
Yeah.
It's a scary situation. It seems like it's getting worse all the time. Maybe, if it keeps going like it could be 11 people unemployed, and then 12. We go to Great Depression.
Get into the food
There could
business.
be 20 out of 100 people down the road who
could.
don't have jobs, who are sitting around, and their form of welfare on the island is they have to go around to the people who are still working for a very low wage in the clothing and food industry and beg for food from their neighbors.
I think the only
and so if there are generous people who will feed them, then those people have less money for clothes,
right?
Because they gave away part of their food.
Yeah.
So it's just cyclical. So now, very logically, how do we fix this island economy? Do we change the tax code so that the rich guy gets more money? And if he had more money, the Republicans argue, if you give that rich guy more money, he can hire the 5 new unemployed people. He can hire them to come back and work in the food or the clothing industry.
A poor man never gave
with
you a
the
job.
extra money.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense, except that why would he do that if there's no demand, for more workers?
Exactly.
The supply is the demand is down, so he doesn't have to supply it, so he doesn't need the workers. So there's no reason to. You know what he's going to do with that money? He's going to make sure his wall is reinforced because he knows there's a lot of poor people out there that want to break in and steal his shit.